So, namaste. Welcome to Satsang today. And if you are new to these teachings, you're very, very welcome. And the whole reason for these teachings is some kind of drive here to try to hopefully simplify and make our awakening journey more practical. Um, that was one of well, the most challenging thing about my own journey. It was that my mind tended to make things complicated, um, and our minds are very good at doing that. So, as awakening deepened here, there was this urge to try to simplify it and keep it in within the realms of simple, effective practice that's going to really make a difference. So, on that note, it's what I want to focus on today is to look at what we really are, because we're here in Satsang not just to know about who we are, what we are, but really also to start to live from that place. Excuse me. So we're gonna do a little self-inquiry, and then we're gonna look at, first of all, how we are unknowingly perhaps sustaining the sense of a separate being. Our self-inquiry will show us what we really are. And our then I'll talk a little, just for a little bit, about how we unknowingly, for the most part, sustain the sense of being a person. And the reason for that, the way that we're sustaining the sense of separation is not always obvious. In fact, sometimes it feels completely hidden. Like I know I must be holding on to something in separation, but I'm just suffering a lot and I don't know how to get out of that. That was my my mantra sometimes, as a seeker of truth. So I want to try to highlight that today. So we're going to start first with some self-inquiry. We'll do it together as a group, and then I'll just speak a little bit afterwards, and then I'll later open it up for questions here, sharings, challenges, all of that as usual. But the fact is that the reason that we're suffering is because we're not who we think we are. And all of our challenges and our issues with our awakening are down to this wrong identification of who we think that we are. We think that we are trying to get to awakening. We think that we are trying to wake up to the truth, trying to merge ourselves into the truth, or the real being, or the consciousness, or presence, whatever we're calling today, what we really are. And all of our self-inquiry and our practice is to show us that we already are awakening, not that we're in a process of awakening, but that we are that which is awakened already. That's what we want to really focus on. And so all of our practice is really focused around that, our spiritual practice. And it may seem like it's a lofty, unreachable goal to see that we are already awakened, already free. But actually, it really only comes down to seeing a few things consistently, again and again and again. On one hand, experiencing what we already are. And we do that with our meditation and our self-inquiry, which we're going to do in a minute. And then on the other hand, seeing who we are not, that the sense of a separate being popping up is not who we are. Most of us live under the illusion that we are this separate entity, and that when we find ourselves in a satsang like this, that we've got to try to get from this place of separation back into unity or truth or consciousness or whatever we're calling this that we are, formless awareness. And our self-inquiry is going to destroy this apparent journey within us. We're not moving from being a seeker into truth, or being a person into awakening. We're not someone finding a way to wake up. We are that which is already awakened and aware. It may sound incredible if you hear someone say something that like you are already free, when it feels like we're certainly not free. So we're going to first look at proving who we really are, and then how to work with the sense of separation when it arises so that we can end our suffering as fast as possible. So let's do some self-inquiry together. Self-inquiry is only looking and seeing who we actually are, what is actually real about us. I'm going to do it like we do. You heard before we started a beautiful explanation about our community, which everyone is welcome to join at any time. And we do this type of inquiry that we're going to do regularly in the community. And it's aimed at really showing us who we really are. So we're going to dive into that. And you can follow along if you like, the best that you can. And if you feel like you don't want to do it, you want to just listen, that's fine. I mean, this is recording. And you can always go back to YouTube later when we upload it and do it again, or do it for the first time. And all we're going to do in our inquiry is just to take a look and see. So as we said, we are, most of us feeling like we are a separate person. So we're just going to actually look. We're going to start our inquiry now by actually looking. We're not going to think about anything. If thoughts are there, just let them be there. We're just going to look and see, can we actually find a separate person, a someone? When you look at yourself, can you find a person? And I looked like this. I knew there was a body was here, and some thoughts, and well, a lot of thoughts, and some emotions, contractions in my body, and karmic patterns, and all of that. And I was sure that they belonged to a person called Helen. My thoughts, my mind, my emotions, my awakening, even. But let's actually try to find, because there's a body, but the one who knows the body, the one who sees or is aware of the body, we just take for granted that me, the person, is aware of the body, aware of these words, aware of the Zoom meeting and everything that's going on. But let's actually just do our best to just look. What can you find when you look for yourself? Do you find a person? And as incredible as it sounds, we can't take the fact that a body is here and there are thoughts and emotions and all of that, even if there's seekingness. It's not enough evidence to prove that there's a person. if we look at what is aware of that seeking, what is aware of the thoughts, is it a someone? Is it a person? Can you actually find the person that we've taken ourselves to be? It's just looking, searching. You are here, but what are you actually? The body and all things temporary, like thoughts, emotions, they're all temporary. They're not really who you are. They are what you use, but they are not who you are. You're the one who says, I and me and mine, my mind, my thoughts, my emotions. But who is it that's speaking? What is it that's speaking through the body, listening through the body? So, even if you can't answer this question, which I couldn't when I first started self-inquiry, even the capacity to actually explore this together is doing something really wonderful. Really wonderful. We're beginning to undo the most prized, um, even though it's painful, the most believed idea of all, which is that I, whatever is using this body, it is a finite, limited entity, a someone, a person. Let's look again, just for a moment. See if you can find anyone living in your body. Is there anyone living in there? It feels like there is. But is there really? Just take a moment. See if you can see. When I looked like this myself, I was really, really shocked to not find a Helen that was living in the body, in my body. Strange as it sounds, there was no entity. There was just some faculty of awareness that wasn't a form, consciousness, sentience, intelligence, that wasn't anything tangible or solid at all. And that was really shocking because my whole life, as I'm sure yours as well, was aimed around what this imaginary person that I thought I was needed or wanted. Needed to wake up to the truth, come out of illusion. Needed more time, more energy, more money. Definitely needed more friends and more peace, and needed to get rid of a whole lot of things like fear and shame and all of it. And it stopped me in my seeking for a moment when I saw, just for a moment, it stopped me. Then there is no person living in this body. There's something that is not a thing, something intangible and formless that is using this body. What it is, though, is a mystery. And if you let it, it will, this understanding, this seeing is going to change your whole life. So we find no person and or no separate being living in the body, camped out in the body. Instead, we find something very, very different, something that isn't moving or changing. And we can call it all kinds of names. It's been called consciousness or beingness or presence or divinity or God or whatever we're calling this formless no-thingness that we are. And it's just one. It's everywhere. And it's experiencing itself through all of these bodies. The bodies and the minds are doing lots of things. The mind is moving in each of the heads, and the bodies are moving and talking and listening and working and sleeping and eating. But the being itself, the formless being, the mystery, what is it doing? Is it doing anything? It's important to really take a look, because we're going to look at now the way that we sustain this sense of a separate person, even after we have disproved it, recognized it doesn't really exist. That really, it is the sense of a person, not an actual person, but there just seems to be a person when there's a body and thoughts and emotions and all of that life going on. But there really isn't anything that we can find that is a subtle form we could call a person. And then the next thing that happens for most of us is that we go back unknowingly into a sense of separation. And we might ask some questions such as, how do I keep what I saw? How do I live as what I saw myself to be? And the major way that we sustain this idea of who we think we are, this person, this imaginary person, is by when any problem arises for us, we try to do something about the problem. So we confuse who we are, this formless, intangible, no thingness, with our body and our mind. When the body does something, we say, I'm doing. And when the mind thinks, we say, I'm thinking. And the mind is planning and strategizing and telling stories, rewriting certain events so that it wins arguments and gets what it wants in its thought process. We think we are doing that. Most of all, when some problem arises for you in your awakening, you're probably going into, what do I do about this? What do I do about this? So for me, I would have these seeings again and again in my inquiry of who I really am. And it would stop everything for a moment. Oh, I'm not at all what I thought I was. And then some fear would arise in the body. And immediately the thought would be, what do I do about this fear? How do I get rid of it? Or what do I do to get the money that I need? Or how do what practice do I do to get the peace that I want? And if you look at your life, you'll see that the parts of it that aren't working, whether it's your friendships, your relationships, your career, your relationship with your children, your parents, siblings, even your awakening itself, whatever problem you've got right now, what if it's there with this problem, whatever it is, because you're trying to do something with it to fix it? Again, let's remember that who we really are is formless and intangible and cannot do anything, isn't doing anything. What if our whole life, every time we think we fixed a problem, that's not how it happened? Oh, I did this and then it resolved. I did this practice or I made this happen. What if no problem that we've ever had physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, to do with awakening, has ever been fixed by you, this imaginary separate being. If there is no person, no separate person to do something, how do problems get solved? Maybe they are solving themselves in front of this intangible, formless, nothingness mystery that we are. Maybe a problem starts to happen, and if we would leave it alone, it will unfold itself into something completely different. What if the problem and the solution are the same thing? But we usually stop it here when we think it's a problem, because we start to think about what to do about it. And I'm not just talking about worldly problems. I'm also talking about our awakening problems. With our worldly problems, our bodies are going to move and do whatever they're going to do to resolve that issue. Even if you say, there's this thing going on, my car has a flat tire, I'm not going to do anything to fix it. I'm going to see what happens magically by itself. Your body at some point is going to move and do something. Call a garage, a repair place, or something. Somehow, movement will happen in the body and it will get resolved. And with our awakening problems, how do I embody this awakening? How do I merge into the formlessness? All these problems are existing for a separate person who doesn't exist. You are here, definitely. But you're here as this intangible mystery that's doing nothing. What can insubstantiality do? What can formlessness make happen anyway? What if from the infinite formlessness that you are, an intention arises, or a clarity of knowing what you want arises, a thought, an intention or a desire, we could say. And simultaneously, the thing itself is also arising, the thing that you want is coming into being. And we simply stop that process in the middle. We know what we want, but then we think we have to do something to make it happen. This seemed incredible to me when I first realized that everything that needed to be fixed would get fixed without me doing anything as a separate person, because I am not a person, neither are you. This intangible mystery is speaking to itself right now. It's not one person sitting in a chair talking to another person somewhere else in the world. As this is the infinite mystery of our nature, our real nature, talking to itself, reminding itself that we have never done anything. Everything gets done by itself, with no person orchestrating it. Or that everything that is done is an expression of this intangible, completely indescribable being coming into form, constantly taking bigger and bigger shapes, more expansive forms. And in fact, the idea that we could do something to fix our problems is the only thing that stops them getting fixed. And that was astounding to me when I first realized that. Can we really just sit here and do nothing and have everything resolve itself? Well, it depends who we're sitting here as. If we think we're a person doing nothing, then we're still buying into this idea that we could do something, but that we're not right now. I'm choosing not to act as a person is completely different than the recognition that formless, intangible awareness cannot act. Not in that way, at least. It is simply pouring out of itself constantly, these shapes and forms. And what shapes those shapes? Well, intention and desire. First, it arises as a subtle shape, subtle form, like an intention, a desire. And then that will crystallize into something more and more tangible. If we can keep out of the way of that process. Or if we realize that we already are out of the way and we never could be in the way, what do you think you have done? What do you think you need to do in order to live like this? What do you think you need to undo? Which is also a kind of doing, isn't it? So, as shocking as this might be, we all need to hear it. I certainly did, 1,000 times maybe, who knows? And just noticing that the next time a problem arises, that clench in the solar plexus in the belly, that tightness, is not from the problem itself, but as the idea arises, I need to do something about this, or I haven't found the right thing to do yet. We even come to our meditation and our self-inquiry as a way to do something. If I do enough self-inquiry or meditation or contemplation or whatever, this problem will go away. And actually, in reality, it's because there's the infinite intangible formlessness recognizing itself through the inquiry that the problem can just show itself to actually be a solution and to continue on that journey of its own. When we think we are someone doing, we kind of hold the problem. Look at this problem. What do I do about it? We're holding it there in this smaller version of what it wants to become. Something much more wonderful. So noticing where you still think you have to find the right thing to do. And usually that's something to do with our awakening. Our awakening problems are our most beloved problems. As much as we don't like them, we hold on to them with such a tenacity. What is it that seems to need to be fixed right now for you? And has trying to do something about it worked? Our mind says and gets stuck in this loop. It looks at a problem, what it thinks is a problem, and it says, what do we do about this? How do I fix this? I'm talking about our ordinary, everyday problems, in terms of awakening. I keep falling back into illusion, says the mind. What do I do to stop that? And keep experiencing the same old karmic patterns. How do I stop that? How do I get free of them? Maybe it's this idea that we can do something to free ourselves that is the illusion, that is the delusion that binds us. We can look again right now, experience what we really are, which is more like the space, tangible space around this body than the body itself. What can I do? If this is a representation of me and not actually me, if this is just something that I, the intangible formlessness, have condensed and created in order to talk to myself in my other bodies, but in actuality I'm formless, what can I do? What do I need to do? What is there that I could do? Whole universe is just happening inside of you. And each time you appear as a human being, you're convinced that you're doing things. And that sense of being able to do something, make some spiritual action. Now I'm going to meditate. Well, not really. Your body was going to go do it anyway. So seeing who we really are, and then noticing that when a problem seems to arise, we go back into feeling like a someone who's doing something. And even for me, this problem, how do I stop being a doer? How do I get rid of the doer? Which was the greatest delusion of all for me. I had to see. You can't do anything to get rid of something that isn't there, only seems to be, really seems to be. Any attempt to get rid of it is just going to make it seem more solid and tangible. All we can do then is to notice this infinite, formless, intangible nature that we are. And then to notice the sense of a person who wants to do something when it arises, just to notice it. And then to recognize there's nothing I could or need to do about this. It will resolve itself while I watch. Because all I can do is watch, see, know, be aware. All the same. And it's one thing when I applied it again and again and again, life would show me all the places I thought I still had to do something. What do I do to get rid of fear? What do I do to transcend my karmic patterns? What do I do to stabilize in the awareness? How do I live like this, infinite being? Those are all impossible questions. Impossible, cannot be answered, because they come from a subtle sense of a someone that thinks it can maneuver its way through awakening to freedom. So, again, I hope it's simple. Let me just recap before we open up for questions. See who you are, then notice the sense of who you are not arise when there's a problem. Instead of trying to fix the problem, it's more intelligent for us to actually look and see if we can do anything and if we need to. If you are everything and everywhere, which you'll come to see if you haven't already through your inquiry, nothing needs to be done. It's all unfolding itself. Your life is the unfolding reflection of you, this formless mystery recognizing itself. And it's moving right on track. And the current problems that you have are only there to help you see that you need do nothing to fix them. If it's a worldly problem, your body will do it quite well, all by itself. It knows. If it's an awakening problem, you can simply watch the sense of a doer arise and a sense of an undoer, maybe. And just let it pass. It's just a feeling, the doer, right? It's just a feeling. It arises and then it goes. When you don't grab it, it dissipates. So I really hope that is helpful in terms of waking up to who you already are and to what our role in this awakening is. It's only to see that we're already free, and see that when a problem arises, there's nothing that we can do to fix it, nor do we need to. It's not powerlessness. It's not avoidance to see that you can't do anything. It's to see who you really are, that in which everything is happening and everything is taken care of. Okay, so we have some time. I'll open it up here in case anyone has any questions about what we've just said or about awakening in general. And please don't think I can't raise my hand and ask a question because Helen's just going to say you're not doing anything. Sometimes we still need to hear it and discuss it and talk it through. Everyone's sharing helps everyone, myself included. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand and we'll see where we get to. Clara, yeah.
Hola, buenas
Hola,
tardes.
buenas tardes.
Mm, No es exactamente una pregunta, es un comentario
It's not exactly a question, it's a comment.
Okay.
porque me he acordado de cuando Ramana Maharshi decía que, bueno, no sé exactamente cómo lo decía, pero algo así de que solo tenemos que estar en el tren y dejar la carga que en la India las mujeres llevan en la cabeza o donde sea, dejar la carga porque el tren va a ir de todas maneras y te va a llevar.
So I remembered a comment I think Ramana made, which is that we just need to get on the train and the load will arrive on its own because the train will take it there.
Y claro, es que se refería a esto precisamente, ¿no? Que dices de que no tenemos que hacer nada para el despertar porque viene a nuestra conciencia todo.
So it refers to what you said, that we don't have to do anything because the consciousness does it for us.
Or that we are the consciousness, not that consciousness does it for us, because that would be too me and consciousness, but that it all gets done as we recognize we are consciousness. Yeah.
Bueno, me refería, y corrígeme si lo digo mal, a que la conciencia está quieta.
I meant that consciousness was quiet or unmoving.
Y viene a mi conciencia todos los movimientos, los problemas, el cuerpo, las sensaciones y todo.
And then it arises in my consciousness, the problems, the movements, and everything that affects it.
Lo que pasa es que hay una fuerza que quiere hacer y yo creo que esa fuerza es mi conciencia y no es.
So what happens is that there's a force that wants to do, but I believe that it's my consciousness, but it really isn't.
¿Es así?
It's just a force, isn't it? Consciousness is here, it's already free, it's not doing anything, and then out of it arises this force that wants to do something. Yeah.
Pero, y esa fuerza es de la propia conciencia, es la conciencia también.
And that strength comes from consciousness. It's consciousness itself.
No es del cuerpo.
It's not of the body.
Yeah, it's from consciousness. When consciousness gets a little confused about itself, it thinks it's doing something. It thinks it is the body and that it's doing something. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you very much.
Good to see you, right? Good to
Thank
see you. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. We'll go to Sonia. Wonderful.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
La pregunta que tengo es si nosotros no podemos hacer nada, no está en nuestra mano solucionar ningún problema. ¿Qué sucede con los deseos?
So my question is, if we can't do anything, what happens with desires?
Porque yo tengo un deseo, ¿no? O varios deseos, pero un deseo fundamental, que es, por ejemplo, el de mejorar mi situación de vida. Y
I have
eso,
several, I have several desires, one of which very strongly is to improve my life situation.
y eso a la vez trae una cierta insatisfacción, por no, es como un anhelo de mejorar.
And it brings insatisfaction because it's like a longing to improve.
Whose desire is it? Where does it come from?
Yo lo siento como un deseo muy genuino.
I feel it like a genuine desire.
But where does it come from? What does it arise out of? Who does this desire belong to? Does it
Eh,
belong to a person?
no estoy segura,
I'm not sure.
no lo sé.
Can you find a person right now or someone?
Sé que no hay un alguien separado.
I know that there's not a separate person.
Right now, you know? Right now with me here?
Eh, sí, y cuando hago las prácticas también sé que no hay una persona separada,
And
pero
when
al
I do
mismo tiempo los deseos siguen ahí, siempre.
when I do the practice, I know there's no separate person, but the desires remain there.
And even because we see there's no separate person, the desires remain here. The separate person, if there was one, would suppress the desire because it didn't feel able to allow it. But because there's no person, the desires come up very strongly. There's nothing to suppress them, nothing to hold them down. So how are they going to manifest these desires? How are they going to come to pass if there's no person to make them happen? This is what the mind worries about, right? But
Ujú. Sí.
if there is no person, we can ask an even better question. There is a self, it is infinite, but there's no separate self. We can ask, how can they not manifest if there is no person? What would stop them, these desires, from manifesting? If the desire is simply arising spontaneously out of the infinite consciousness, and when it's felt in a human body, it feels like my desire, but it's still coming from the infinite consciousness. And in effect, the infinite consciousness is saying, I want a better life. I want to improve my life. What is going to stop it from happening?
Em, a día de hoy, no sé si este es el motivo, pero eh, pienso de qué forma lo voy a hacer. Y además pienso que es muy difícil conseguirlo.
Um, I think, how am I going to achieve it? And also, that is very difficult to achieve.
But if there is no person to achieve it, it will achieve itself. There's nothing to get in the way of it happening, nothing to stop it. It's only that we can't quite believe that, simply because the consciousness wants something, it's going to happen. Because
Sí,
that's too easy, right, for the mind.
sí, me sucede eso. Pienso eh, que no estoy haciendo nada para que suceda y que está tardando mucho.
I think that I'm not doing anything to make it happen and that it's taking a long time.
Can it take a long time if there's nothing to make it happen? Or is it that we keep holding it in a certain point of manifestation? We keep holding it here because we think it isn't here yet. It's taking too long. If you are the infinite formless consciousness, what can stop you getting what you want? You have you are infinite power. You're creating this entire universe. Right now, you are sustaining this entire universe as these bodies talk. What can stop you from getting what you want? Even this idea that it's taking too long is showing us that we think there could be something in the way, something stopping it, right? Something else that could slow it down from coming into existence. For the consciousness to get what it wants effortlessly and easily, the first thing it's going to have to see is that all the reasons we think that we can't get what we want are not true for us. All the reasons. So the infinite consciousness finds itself in Satsang to realize it's not limited, it's not separate, it's not making anything happen. It's just desire arises and then it's manifestation. And then another desire arises and another manifestation. Like this all the time, it's happening in all these bodies.
Entonces debo dejar de pensar en qué forma, qué puedo hacer para que pase lo que deseo.
So I have to stop thinking about how it is I'm going to achieve or what I need to do to have this desire.
That's the only thing that's blocking it from showing up. When you think about how do I make it happen, you're pretending to be a person again. So what we can do is remind ourselves that we're not doing anything, experience our own formlessness again and again and again. And recognizing that no person never, ever, sorry, recognizing that no person ever made a desire manifest, no matter how much we think that is true. It's never happened. No personal, separate self desires have ever shown up. Whatever has arrived for us that we wanted, it came because it was going to happen anyway. It's shocking, right?
Sí. Entonces el deseo que yo siento es algo que ya va a venir.
So this desire that I feel, it's something that is going to arrive.
Is already arriving. Isn't your life getting better, but perhaps slower than you want? So how do we speed that up? We just let go of any ideas that we have to do anything or could do anything to make it happen. Remembering who we really are, that which is everywhere and formless. All desires must manifest from there, must.
De acuerdo.
So notice the habit. What do I do? The way of thinking. Notice that habit when it arises and say, no, I'm just gonna be here. Yeah. And if your body needs to do something to make the manifestation happen, your body will do it quite well. Yeah.
De acuerdo. Vale. Muchas gracias. Un
This is
beso.
it's everyone's question, isn't it? Everyone's question. Yeah. Thank you. Wonderful. We'll go
Gracias.
to Ben. You're still muted there, Ben. Wonderful. Hi.
Right. Yeah, thanks for your teachings. I just have a general question, really, about teachers, and quite a few teachers are quite adamant that you shouldn't change teachers or look at various teachers at the same time, and you should just stick with the one teacher, and that's what you should do. And that's not really my experience. And I just was wondering if you wanted to comment on that, or what was your experience, because it doesn't seem that it's necessarily true to me.
Yeah, I think I'm always a little cautious to say, this is how it should be, absolutely this way or not this way. In my own journey, there were times when it was really, really helpful for me to just stay with one teacher, like for a while. But there were also times when it was helpful for me to read and listen to many different teachers. The separate person that I thought I was had, of course, like everyone, so much resistance. And going to all these different teachers, watching 1,000 satsangs a week or something, on YouTube, was at one point a way for me to avoid actually just doing some practice regularly, consistently. Because I would start some practice and then I'd go to this teacher and then I'd start their practice. Then I'd go and watch another one and do that one. And I never did anything consistently long enough to break through the illusion, any real practice. So there was a time when I realized that was what was going on. And I kind of, as a decision arose inside that, okay, I'm just going to stay with this one particular teacher for as long as it takes to break through. If that feeling arises within us, great. As long as we're sure that we're working with a teacher who has actually realized what we're trying to realize. Then there was also this phase where, having sort of broken through the illusion of feeling like I was a person, it was really, really fun to explore other teachings again and to hear the same truth from so many beautiful different angles. But it wasn't a seeking, it was just like you go to a restaurant and I'll try this dish and then I'll try this one and I'll sample this one and all these tasty dishes. So all of that is to say, You know what's best for you at any particular time. And if we really listen to our own guidance, we'll know what the right thing for us to do is. If we're listening to, watching a lot of teachers, is it helpful? Is it beneficial, or is it a form of resistance? If we're sticking with one teacher, is it helpful, or is it a form of resistance also? So this is a very long way of saying I can't answer that. Only you can answer that for you, right? Your own guidance is going to be right right at this moment, with the caveat of just checking that guidance isn't actually resistance, So my mind said if I listen to 25 different teachers and read another 25 books on awakening, I'm going to get there 25 times as fast. It just didn't work. So yeah, I hope that's helpful, something I've said there.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. And yeah, I totally agree that the inner guidance is guiding. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Any authentic teacher is going to tell you that it's the same self speaking, isn't it? So you have that guidance there already. And the teacher isn't really outside of you anyway. So the body forms of the teacher might appear in different ways, but the teacher's really who you are already. So you can't really go wrong from there. Yeah.
yeah.
Which is good news. Yeah. Thanks so
Okay,
much.
that's great. Yeah, thanks.
Wonderful. Okay, we'll go to Niria. Hope I'm saying that correctly. There we go.
Hola,
Hola.
a través de Sonia, pero mi hacedor quiere la respuesta.
My doer wants an answer.
Cuando tengo ya sea la sensación.
1 second for translation. Thanks.
Okay.
I just got the last bit of it because of the internet connection. She said that the doer wants an answer, but I didn't hear the first bit.
You maybe just ask her to repeat if she can.
Nidia, ¿puedes repetir la primera parte, por favor, que no te he escuchado bien?
Sí. Todavía no lo he hecho. Que por lo menos cuando se me presenta una sensación, ya sea emoción de miedo o tristeza o algo que no se me dio, ahí en ese momento, ¿tú qué hacías en ese momento? O sea,
When
¿cuál es el paso a seguir?
1 second.
when fear or a strong emotion appeared, what did you do with that? What would be the steps to follow?
First of all, I tried to do everything. I tried to accept it, reject it, overcome it, transcend it, avoid it, suppress it, push it, pull it. I even tried to just be with it. The subtle sense of a doer. And actually, it was only in seeing again and again that formless awareness can't do anything. That there was some kind of relaxation in the body. And even if the urge to do something, I've got to do something about this, arises, you can see it also. You can see it and say, that's not me. That's just a feeling, a sense. You can feel it, right? When a strong emotion arises in you, also arises this, I need to do something. What do I do? And you can just watch both of those. You don't have to engage. You watch the emotion, feel it, and you feel I need to do something. And you just let it come and go. Yeah. And self-inquiry was like we did at the beginning of the satsang today, to see who I really was and am, was so helpful to keep proving to myself I'm not a person doing something. I'm still not a person doing something every time. Sometimes 10, 20, 50 times a day, I would look and look and look and look because I was really, really tired of thinking I was doing.
Ok, gracias. Pues ya me queda claro, sé que es práctica, 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 y en vez de darle un trofeo al hacedor, creo que me toca despedirlo. Entonces, gracias.
So I realize it's practice, 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 and instead of giving a trophy to the doer, it's to fire it.
Well, we don't need to fire it because even that is a doing, very subtle doing. And I tried to do that too. You should go away now. You're not real. Go away. The doer should go away. But just to notice and say, I'm not playing with you today. Yeah, I'm just going to watch from here as awareness. Yeah.
Sí, gracias.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Magda and then Enrique, and we'll finish there. So Magda, when you're ready. Thank you.
Hola, buenas
Hola.
tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Qué gusto, Helen. Muchas gracias. A ver, yo tengo, lo voy a tratar de poner, aunque mis dudas ya las respondiste, ¿no? Pero de alguna manera me surge esto. Em,
Cleared up my doubts already, but this is coming up.
Okay.
Si la conciencia infinita es como un...
Sorry.
es-
Please continue.
la conciencia infinita, Dios, no me acuerdo de los otros nombres. Si es el todo y no carece de nada, ¿qué sentido tiene? O sea, ¿cómo es que le surgen deseos de experimentarse carente, por ejemplo?
If God and the or infinite consciousness is everything, how is it that it has desires coming up to experience?
So God is this, first of all, this formless, insubstantial nothingness that is everywhere. And as that formless, insubstantial nothingness, it doesn't need anything. There are no desires, nobody to desire it. But then it seems to take a shape of a human being or an animal or a plant. And when it takes these forms, when it makes these forms, in those forms, it has a lot of desires. Even a plant wants to turn towards the light. It wants the light. There's a desire there to experience the light, to keep growing. An animal, there is desires in every animal, as we know, to survive, to be safe, and all of those things. And in a human form, it has many complex desires, seemingly, but all of those desires are really just one desire in disguise, which is that it wants to recognize itself, the formless, infinite, intangible awareness wants to recognize itself completely. All desires are really this desire in disguise. It's what's happening right now, isn't it? The reason we're all gathered here in Satsang is to for the consciousness to recognize itself. So strangely,
Helen, pero entonces, ay, perdón.
it's okay, go ahead.
Entonces, la conciencia no se sabe plena, no se sabe completa, no se sabe, mm, no sé, perfecta.
So consciousness doesn't know itself as perfect, as fullness, as everything.
It does and it doesn't. In its formless aspect, there's nothing to know. It's complete and it's perfect, totally free. And then when it appears as a human form, it gets really confused in thoughts about itself. It starts to think that it is a tiny, tiny, separate, limited being. So we can't really say yes or no. It's yes and no. Yes, it's already free as infinite consciousness, formless consciousness. But in the form, it gets confused about itself and seems to need to go through this waking up process, through the apparent journey we seem to be on. And all of our practice is just to see that we are first and foremost the formless consciousness that is free already. It's strange, isn't it, to think there's something infinite can get confused about itself. But it does as a human being. When it shows up as a human, it does get very confused for a long time.
Creo que aquí tiene algo que ver con que yo a Dios lo imagino o lo he aprendido puro amor, nada de sufrimiento, nada de pensamientos negativos, nada de lo feo, de lo negativo, entre comillas. Y entonces,
So
ajá.
I've understood God to be all loving, no negative aspects to it. So
Y entonces cuando veo que Dios, ¿no? La conciencia infinita se está manifestando en enfermedades, en carencias, en no sé cuál, en guerra. Eso me conflictúa muchísimo. Es como, esto no puede ser de Dios, esto no puede ser de la conciencia infinita. Entonces estoy ahí como confundida y quisiera tener la certeza de lo que es, ¿no?
So it's confusing to suddenly see God as war and conflict. And so I'd like clarity on what is it?
I'm laughing because your questions are so big. They're like, wow, consciousness or God is perfection. It is total love. It is only love. It could only be love. And it doesn't see, in the formless aspect, it doesn't see anything other than itself. So when we recognize ourselves to be that divine consciousness, everything we look at, we recognize to be our own self, our own formless consciousness, no different. But when it doesn't recognize itself, when it thinks it's a separate, limited being, alone in the world, cut off from everything it needs, separate to everything it needs, and when it thinks it's going to die one day because it's a small, limited being, then it seems to start to appear as the opposite. So what really is love appears as hate. What really is peace appears as war and violence and everything that we see in the world. But everything that we see in the world that we don't like is the reflection of this idea of separation. It's confusion about itself. Reflects as I feel alone. I feel like I'm scared and I have to try to gather resources and get everything I need to be safe, to be loved, from other people, other things. It forgets that it's the only thing that exists. And we know what happens from there. We see it on the news all the time. Wonderful.
Bueno, pues voy a escuchar el audio y asimilar. Bueno, ni siquiera lo tengo que hacer yo, ya lo sé. Pero pues muchas gracias, Helen. Esto del hacedor me cuesta muchísimo trabajo, pero gracias por toda tu generosidad y por todo lo que nos regalas.
Thank
Gracias.
you. Thank you, Helen, for everything you give us. I'm going to hear this again, even though there's no doer.
It's
Thank
always
you.
good to listen again, isn't it? Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. We'll finish with Enrique. Sorry, we won't get time to go to anyone else today. When you're ready, Enrique.
Hola, Helen,
Hola.
Sangha.
It is
Hola.
a Spanish satsang today. Yeah.
Una bendición.
Rendition or
Um,
surrender.
ya. Mientras que te escuchaba y también a los compañeros de la Sangha he ido tomando nota y voy a intentar llegar a la pregunta en breve.
I've been taking notes while I listen to everybody here and their comments in the Sangha, so I'll try to be brief.
Cuando has hablado de la unión entre problema y solución, me he acordado automáticamente de algo que me dijiste o que dijiste a la Sangha hace meses.
So when I heard you say that there's a union between the problem and the solution, I remember something that you spoke to the Sangha about a few months ago.
Estaba relacionado cuando dijiste que el dolor es amor disfrazado de dolor y de pronto he entendido como que la solución está, que el problema, perdón, que el problema se encuentra disfrazado igualmente en sí mismo con la solución.
So you had said that pain was hidden by love, and so I also, and that also the problem, the solution for the problem is also hidden by the solution.
Es decir, creo que la relación que hay entre problema y solución, que es que me recuerda como lo que dijiste y estamos trabajando entre la relación entre causa y efecto. O sea, vienen a ser exactamente lo mismo o están relacionadas intrínsecamente en lo mismo.
So the relationship between problem and solution reminds me of cause and effect, and they are the same or interrelated.
Entonces, lo que quiero, lo que siento compartir y preguntar en este caso es si realmente cuando se presenta un problema, que un problema es ilusorio en sí mismo, la solución es ilusoria igualmente en sí misma y sucede en el campo de la conciencia.
So when there's a problem and the problem appears to be an illusion, is also or the solution is also an illusion.
Y sucede en el campo de la conciencia como tal.
And it happens in the field of consciousness.
La pregunta entonces, ¿el problema es en sí mismo una invitación a la indagación, a la renuncia, al desapego, a la entrega, que es la solución? O sea,
So is the problem an invitation to self-inquiry, to
a la renuncia, el desapego,
surrender
entrega,
and unattachment,
para abrir espacio a la verdad. O sea, me da la sensación de que el problema es como algo compacto y necesita espacio para que es la solución para que pueda aparecer la verdad de lo que
to open itself to truth and allow space so that the solution can arise.
Yeah, if we're living more and more as the consciousness, the presence, and what we think looks like a problem arises, then there's an opportunity there to simply watch what wants to unfold by itself. The problem will turn into the solution because they're one and the same thing. When we look at the beginning of a manifestation of something, it looks like a problem. But as we watch and watch and watch, it opens up into something much more beautiful, a solution. In fact, a solution isn't really needed if we see there isn't really a problem. It's just the expansion of manifestation into more consciousness. When it takes a shape, it's always moving into ever greater expression, ever more detailed and expressive and abundant expression of itself as form. And as it starts to move into something new, the old thing has to break down first. And the old shape breaks down and we say, there's a problem. There's a problem. What do I do? But if we watch, it's really some breaking down of some old things so that something even more amazing can arise out of it. When we say, oh, the solution showed up, that was lucky. But it's always going to be like that if we can simply recognize that we never fixed any personal problems. We never made anything happen in that way that we thought we did. It was always going to go that way towards a solution. So there is an invitation there, as you said, to simply remain as our true nature, that is just being, just seeing, just watching, and see what happens to the manifestation when we have no idea that we could even do something to intervene in it. Even to say, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to watch. Even that is a little bit of illusion, right? Because I still think I can do something. I'm not going to do something. But to watch is that which can only be, only watch, only see. Something beautiful is going to arise out of it every time. And it will clarify the manifestation is just going on by itself. Problem, solution, problem, solution, problem, solution, forever. But it's not seen as a problem then. And so here's another miracle unfolding. Here's another miracle unfolding. Here's another one. More like that, yeah.
Es como que hay una cuestión fundamental de paciencia, ¿no? En el proceso.
So there's a concept or a practice of patience that's monumental in this.
Do you even need patience if you're not able to do anything? And when there is no sense of time for you as consciousness, you're here forever. It's more like I'm just watching the best TV show ever, and it gets better every day. I'm not even waiting for the problems to fix themselves because I know they will, and I know they're not really problems. I'm just going to watch something amazing appear out of what looks like a problem. And that happens again and again and again. Not even patience or trust or faith is needed then. These things, we if we know who we are, how could something beautiful not arise out of that? If we are this perfected, formless mystery that really is just love. Whatever arises out of that is going to be beyond anything we could imagine. So not even waiting patiently, just kind of a feeling like I'm just watching the best movie ever that keeps getting better and better every day. You can feel it, right? It's happening already. And it gets faster and faster and faster.
Muchas gracias.
Okay. Wonderful. So, we will leave it there for today. Thank you so much. Sorry we didn't get time for all the questions, but we're just out of time, unfortunately. Questions that we've had have been amazing, and they are everyone's questions. So thank you everyone for being brave enough to ask. And Anna, if you can make it next week, you'll be first up if you want to still ask your question. If you can make it, great. Just a quick reminder, there is Satsang next week, but then we have 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year. Thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you.